We are celebrating the 15th anniversary of Burn After Reading. I feel like this is like kind of a forgotten movie, especially in the Coen Brothers oeuvre. It is a forgotten movie. That's my Malkovich impression. It's a great movie, and I was reminded of that as I was watching it for our podcast this week. So let's talk about this movie. So I'm the one that picked this, and when I picked it, it was great because the reaction from both of you was pretty much exactly the same. Like, one, surprising pick. Two, great pick. Because this is a movie, like I said, I feel like it's a very forgotten Coen Brothers movie. And looking back at it, as I was looking through all the possible movies that we could talk about and we could do a deep dive of, I was like, that is a fun movie. And it's got a lot of kooky characters, and it's going to be a really fun deep dive. But it's not one I really look back on and be like, oh, yeah, I need to revisit Burn After Reading. But it's totally one that's worth it because going back to it, like I saw this in the theaters. Because I would say this came out in 08. Zach and I were in college. We might have even seen this together depending on when it was released. Um and I will say we most likely saw the trailer to this together because this had one of the greatest trailers of all time. The Red Band trailer for this was awesome. And that totally sold the movie, and that's all you needed was to see this trailer. And the movie was, I mean, it's a little out there, but I loved it. And then I have the DVD. That's how I watched the movie. It's on HBO Max right now, but I have the DVD. And I probably watched it once I got the DVD and haven't picked it up in 10 years. And so I watched it again this week and remembered how great this movie is. And watching it this time, I realized the closest relative in Coen Brothers to Burn After Reading is probably Fargo. Because if you think about it, what would it's like they took Fargo and said, how could we make a kooky crime comedy drama like Fargo in Washington, D.C. and Burn After Reading was made. Like that's basically what happened here. They took the premise of Fargo and said, how can we make something quirky like that in DC? And this is how you do it. You make it like this, where you've got a couple people at a fitness center who stumble across CIA secrets, they think, and the hijinks that happen afterwards, it ends up blowing up in everyone's face. So it's a fun movie. It's everything that the Coen Brothers do well, and yeah, I really enjoyed revisiting this. Todd, how about you?
Yeah, so I remember liking this when it came out, but I hadn't seen it since. But there is a thing where I'm not the biggest fan of like the Coen Brothers comedies. Like, I mean, I don't think when they're doing straight comedy, I'm not really a fan.
That's fair.
I've never really been a fan of The Big Lebowski. I don't like Intolerable Cruelty or The Lady Killers, or I mean, the one I do like is Raising Arizona, but that's a cager, so it's almost doesn't count. But like the thing there's a lot of interesting characters in this movie, but they're all just so dumb. It is like distracting how dumb they are, and I mean, you can't really ever fully buy it. But I understand why you picked it, and there is a lot going on, and there is I mean, there are some incredible actors doing their thing, and especially Malkovich. But I mean, to me, the flaws that I saw originally with it, which is why I wasn't super high on it, still stand. And that's not there's no main character. There really should be a main character because you have such an interesting performance by John Malkovich. Absolutely in his element. He needed to be more the main character in this movie, and then you would have an absolute classic. And that's why I think is holding the movie back, is because there's just a lot of people, and the most main character is probably George Clooney, who's one of the weaker parts of the movie. I don't know. It's there's something holding it back, but it is the Coens, so the writing is still really sharp, and it is pretty funny, and actors doing things that they probably don't do in any other movie.
Zach, did we see this together?
I don't think so. although it's
I think it was a
possible.
summer release, so probably
Yeah,
not.
I remember it was like the end of the summer it came out. Yeah, I think there are Joel movies and there are Ethan movies. A Joel movie, for example, is True Grit. A Joel movie is Ballad of Buster Scruggs. A Joel movie is Miller's Crossing. You know, an Ethan movie is more quirky, weird, and maybe like unsatisfying. So like I feel like this is totally an Ethan movie. I think Hail Caesar is an Ethan movie. The movies that have intolerable cruelty, probably more of an Ethan movie. I feel like Todd and I had this drunken conversation in Vegas at some point. I really like this movie a lot. It's kind of interesting in a way. You know, it was the Coens coming off of their Oscar win, and just like they had a decade earlier after their Oscar win from Fargo, with the Big Lebowski, they went just a completely different way. They totally zagged. They did a weird, goofy comedy that people didn't quite understand and maybe still don't quite understand. A movie that is gleefully un-Oscar. Zero Oscar bait in this movie, except for the fact that this cast has way more than 12 acting nominations. I never would have guessed that if that was there's no way they had 12 wins. But anyway.
7 wins is insane, though.
Yeah, 7 wins.
Almost half of them are like the director's wife. So
that's true.
Now, if just Dermot Mulroney can win an Oscar, I mean, we're all waiting for that day at some point. But yeah, I mean, this movie is so weird and goofy, and you know, in a weird kind of way. Even though I guess the point of the movie, according to J.K. Simmons, is that none of it makes sense. I actually feel like this is a Coen's movie that actually makes more sense than most Coen movies. Like the screenplay does. You're able to follow the action, I think, sometimes pretty clearly. Some Coen movies I just don't get. Like I couldn't tell you the plot of Miller's Crossing. That movie confuses me. But this movie, you know, you understand all the characters, and you either like the characters or you don't. And I love these characters. I think they are hilarious. Like the Tilda Swinton John Malkovich marriage should be its own TV show or movie. And as we've already alluded to, Malkovich just owns in this movie. I mean, he comes in with his big dick energy and just destroys. Okay, I mean, if you thought Teddy KGB or his performance of being John Malkovich was like, I mean, this is the hammiest that Malkovich gets in a supporting role in every scene.
It's the same as Con Air. It's the same character.
Yeah, it is something that only
Cyrus
no,
the Virus
that's
were in
clever.
the CIA.
But see, the genius of this movie is then you also have Tilda Swinton coming in and doing her thing. And then, okay, this is the real genius of the movie, because, you know, we now live in an era where everybody thinks Brad Pitt is a great comic actor. This was his first comedy. Like, no one thought Brad Pitt could do comedy before this movie. The movies he did before this movie were Babel, and Benjamin Button came out later in the year. And this set the tone for Inglourious Bastards and a little bit of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and the comic Brad Pitt that we know and love at this point. And he's perfect in that role. And then McDormand's kind of doing a spinoff of Marge Gunderson a little bit, but it's also a little different. And then Clooney is kind of like the anti-Michael Clayton. Like it's a perfect zag from everything you would have expected, except for John Malkovich, out of these people in 2008. And it's wonderful. The problem I have with the movie, I had this problem when it came out, when I guess allegedly saw it with Terry. I'm not sure. To me, this is like just 4 stars, amazing. But then what the hell is with the last 10 minutes of this movie? Did they just run out of steam? Like, did the movie run out of a budget? Why did the movie end that way? Like, that's also classic Ethan to end a movie that way. But it's like, so the joke's on us, I guess. But like, I don't know why they couldn't have just showed, you know, Malkovich getting shot or whatever, or them dispensing the body and not the Potomac, the Chesapeake, excuse me. Like, why was that just in the dialogue at the end of the movie? And then why the bird's eye shot, the drone shot out of the Pentagon? Like, I don't get it. Ethan lost me. Well, yeah, I get it. But like, why not just shoot the last 20 minutes of the movie? You have a great movie. Let's just end it for real.
I think it's more funny to think of Clooney trying to board a flight to Argentina than it is to actually see him at the airport.
Venezuela.
See, I don't even remember what happens at the end of the movie. Like that dialogue to me, I don't pay attention to. I didn't even know.
That's the best part of the movie. The back and forth between the agent and the.
That's the weakest part of the movie.
J.K. Simmons doesn't even have a character name in this movie. His CIA superior. Him and his guy Palmer DeBakey Smith. Like those are the best parts of the movie. It is a
and
very.
he's the guy. He's the guy
it's
who
a-
has a conversation with Malkovich in the first scene.
Yeah, he's the one at the behind the desk. But
Yeah.
there's a very almost like Austin Powers type of like line delivery between them, and like just be like, I don't know. There's they have a really good rapport. Rapport is how you say it, not report. Fucking
So
moron.
this came out September 12th, 2008. So Zach, you were already back on campus at this point. I was into my first year of teaching. There's a chance we saw this together, but probably
Maybe.
not. Probably not. Yeah, and I love you cast Brad Pitt, a 46 I think year old Brad Pitt at the time, as a like 25 to 30-year-old fitness instructor. I mean,
I think he's just stuck at that job, man. He loves it. I don't think he's actually supposed to be younger, but he does play it like he is.
He plays it like he is.
To me, this is a hangout movie. I wish this movie didn't have a plot. I don't care about the plot. These are just such great characters. It's maybe the closest that the Coens ever got to Tarantino, because these people are all so bad. They're really horrible people, and they all are idiots, like Todd said. Why does anything need to happen? I just want to live in that marriage of Malkovich and Swinton. That is amazing. I want to go to their parties where George Clooney shows up. I want to hang out at the gym. Like, I just want to live in the world of this movie.
Who would Cage play in this?
Oh yeah, it'd be an amazing Osborn.
That's what I said too. He'd
Unbelievable Osborn.
I have a drinking problem.
You're a Mormon. Next to you, we all have drinking problems.
Also a Regal Line candidate.
That's a good one too. Yeah.
Also, I think Ted. He'd be a really funny Ted. There's something off about Richard Jenkins in this movie, and if you had someone with like the energy of Cage, it would make those things a lot funnier. Like, I'm not here representing hard bodies. Like, you had Cage playing it up in that line. Come on.
I don't know.
It's great that it's pathetic it's so pathetic coming from Richard Jenkins, so that it works. All right, what did you say?
I said that Cage would play the Russian embassy guy, like the one they.
That guy plays like a Russian in every movie. I've seen him in so much stuff.
What are you talking about? Kropotkin? Like the main
the
Russian
main Russian guy.
Yes, Kropotkin. Yeah.
Yeah. Krapkin?
I didn't realize
Isn't that what she called him?
Yeah, Krapkin.
What else? Yeah, he's been in. What else was he in? I know I've seen him in something. Oh, he was the Russian Minister of Defense in Fate of the Furious.
There we go.
Was
he a Russian in Triple X too? Would have fit
I
in
feel like
nicely
he
with
might
most
have been in
people.
Triple X, but I'm probably wrong about that.
I would have given the Beth Grant Award in this movie to the secretary who loses Osborne Cox's CIA shit, but it's also obvious that she could have been played by Mrs. Sellner from Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah, that's a good point. Who would my Beth Grant? I couldn't come up with much. I just said she'd be a member in the gym. Who would 90s Giamatti play?
I said the cosmetic surgeon. He's got a couple of scenes, but I mean that also is a face that we've seen before. The guy from Rocket Man.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
he would have to be Olsen. And what are you doing here, Olsen?
That's what I said. Olsen by reputation. Why is Olsen here?
No, it's even better than that because he says it like in the middle of a sentence. He interrupts himself like, "Why is Olsen here? like, who is this guy?"
What does Adam think this movie's about? I couldn't come up with anything good for this, but
could Todd play Osborne Cox? Is that a possibility? Your Malkovich impression is really good. You've got the look and the anger. I say that's my Osborne Cox.
Give him 20 years. He might be able to do it.
Adam thinks that I don't know. I just said a wrongful termination lawsuit. I mean, then it goes from there with Hilary Swank. I actually thought Hilary Swank could play Katie, but I didn't go there.
I think
maybe Adam thinks this is an alternate title to Mission Impossible.
Yeah, it's true. I was thinking Fahrenheit 451, and since that's also
Firestarter.
yeah.
Firestarter.
His daughter's favorite movie of last year.
Uh,
The only thing I had written down was Adam assumes that the next time that someone will be given divorce papers, it will be by Hilary Swank, served by Hilary Swank as a divorce lawyer.
very nice.
Because it happens a lot in this movie. I thought one of your questions, Todd, was going to be, what's the law firm's name? And I wrote that down. It was Tuckman Marsh.
It's because the character's
Tuckman
name
Marsh.
is Tuckman
Tuckman
Marsh.
Marsh.
Yeah, I could have said that, but I mean, I think that would have been easy.
I work for Tuckman Marsh. Do you have an alternate title for this movie? My alternate title is The Memoir.
My alternate title is The Russians? The Russians?
The Russians with a question mark. I just said hard bodies.
My father-in-law has a hard bodies pinball machine, but it's the movie Hard Bodies.
Without a space.
An alternate title could have been When Does It Make Sense?
That would have been your question in trivia. It doesn't.
Yes, that's the Terry trivia question. Highest war performance. That might need to be a new category. The Terry trivia question. We kind of do it every time, anyways. Highest war performance. Can we agree it's Malkovich?
Easily.
Yeah.
No, nobody's replacing that.
I mean, because it's one of those that we talk about all the time, that Malkovich is one of those actors that makes every one of his characters him so much that it's hard to picture anybody else in any of his roles. It's perfect. Okay. Bill Paxton Memorial Worst Performance Award goes to who, Todd?
I wrote down Michael Countryman as Alan because he's, I don't know, throughout the whole date, he is just doing a Bill Lumbergh impression. And it's not even a good one. They even have the awkward sex scene with him just being like, with his glasses even. It's super weird. He's doing a Lumbergh and it's not good.
He's kind of doing like a Stanley Tucci in The Lovely Bones too.
Oh, that's a good call. That is a good call.
Child molester look a little bit.
Yeah.
But he works in the State Department. Hey, that's cool. Zach, who do you have?
I don't know. Pitt could make the highest war maybe a little bit of a competition. You're converting me. Worst performance, I think, has to go to Dermot Mulroney as the star of Coming Up Daisy. I mean, you get down from there, it's pretty stiff.
Dermot Mulroney's character or Dermot Mulroney the actor?
Both of them.
I think you could go with Claire Danes because she makes a poster but can't even make it on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had Alan written down. Of the main ones, I mean, there isn't really a bad performance. So, I mean, if you're going to pick one of the main, 6 performances that you're going to say is a bad one, maybe this is one of Francis's weaker roles. I mean, you could maybe say that.
We couldn't find anyone that we could recast, though.
I know. Yeah. So, but yeah, Alan is really the
only one I had written down was Richard Jenkins.
I think he's perfect though. He is perfect in that role. Like, because he's just that sad old man.
Yeah, right. I wrote down that Mark Rylance could play his role today, as long as he's wearing a hat and a bad accent.
Amazing Larry Big Tim High Roller Minor Character of the Film Award goes to who, Zach?
Shoot, I was not prepared for this. I think I'm gonna go. I have to go with the divorce lawyer. I mean, I love him. He's great. You too can be a spy, madam. And then I love how he's got give it one more day. I actually sometimes give that advice out because I think about that character. And that's such a classic Coen Brothers character. Always this old guy who's some sort of bureaucrat. Like he could have worked for William H. Macy's father-in-law in Fargo. Like he's just that kind of right-hand man who's in every single one of these Coen Brothers movies. And I don't know the actor's name. I need to look it up. But I love that character. And I don't know why those scenes are entirely necessary for the movie. But they're great. And I guess it's because his secretary is the one that loses the CIA stuff at the gym. But I don't understand why his character plays such a prominent role in the movie, but he's great.
She loses the shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like he may have been like the backup for the Charles Durning role in A Brother Where Art Thou.
Yeah, Charles
the guy
Durning
running
would
for
also
governor.
very much Bruce McGill could have probably played it too.
Oh, there we go.
J.R. Horn plays the divorce lawyer.
So my minor character, I feel like you can't really go with J.K. Simmons because it's J.K. Simmons, but I think he would be like hands down the pick. But if I'm not, I'm going with the cosmetic surgeon.
Yeah,
played by Jeffrey DeMunn, because he's in all sorts of different stuff. He's in Green Mile. He's in The Mist. He's in, of course, Rocket Man, Unplug and Go Home. I love that character. I love that guy. He's awesome, and the looks he just gives Linda as she just won't shut up. And like, can I tell you what you're supposed to know now? Oh, okay, you're gonna keep talking. Okay, all right. Yeah, I love that guy.
I wrote down 5 others that weren't mentioned. One, of course, is Olsen, because I mean, I'm like, I want to know what the deal is there. I mean, there's something there, and I want to explore that. I also wrote down Manolo, who is the guy who finds the thing. He's like, he's
just on the floor there.
Yeah. There's a whole like I don't know, like a podcast that could be done about that about that character and his like involvement in a crime investigation. Then I also have the Russian embassy escort, who's this big guy, and you see him like 3 times. He throws them out of the Russian embassy, and other than that, he's just like escorting them, but he's walking in front of them, which he's not really actually escorting them. That guy's pretty cool. I also have the obviously CIA superior, played by J.K. Simmons, and CIA officer Palmer, DeBakey Smith, because he is my favorite character.
Movie has a lot of great names. DeBakey, I noticed
that's his middle name. They call him Palmer, not Smith, which is interesting because he is. Would
you also put Peck on your list because he's Mormon?
Swigert Stickman. It's Harry, right? I mean, do we need to go any further?
I was also going to say the Sultan of Salad.
I think
Harry wins.
Yeah, Harry and the star of Coming Up Daisy, played by Dermot Mulroney.
Yes. Also, I would say Harry and his chair. His chair, big time stickman.
That is not one I had thought of, but that actually really works.
All right, the Uncle Douchebag goes to who, Todd?
There are a few. I know
Everybody.
Zach's gonna hate one of mine that I would say, so I will go over all of them after we're done. I'm gonna go with Stretching Gym Patron.
Oh, good call. I love this.
I popped something in my ass. I don't know. I mean, he's mainly he's not a stick man, because if he's not limber enough to stretch at a gym, then he definitely is not getting it in. But he's also a douchebag because he's making a big scene of that. And even Chad was just like, I'm gonna go take this call. Like, I'm getting out of here. Stretching Gym Patron. He doesn't even have a name. You got no shot. That's Austin Powers. That's my douchebag.
Oh, well done. I love it.
I'm really upset that you didn't say the kid patient at
that is the one. I have a 4-year-old patient written down because he wouldn't open his mouth.
That's the Todd pick right there.
He wouldn't open his mouth. I also thought he was kind of punchable face because he wouldn't open his mouth. She even says that. She's like, "You want me to get your mother out of the room so we can do this in person, 1-on-1 or whatever?"
All right, Zach, who do you have?
I went with George Clooney's wife, Sandy. because she doesn't like Seattle. She seems to be complaining
Oh,
that she
good
gets
call.
sent there. So this is a pretty anti-Seattle movie, and I think it's personified by her attitude toward it. So screw her. I mean, it does rain all the time there, and there are a lot of independent bookstores, but why does she have to take it so personally?
I mean, I feel like that's more describing Portland than Seattle, but
I mean,
Yeah.
she was on it was the fourth leg of her trip too. So yeah, but I understand. Yes.
all right. I have a let's see here. 1, 2, 4, 6, 14, 16.
You could make a case for every character in this movie being a douchebag. Maybe not
Yeah.
Frances McDormand, but I think everybody else being a pretty big douchebag.
Well,
I had
she rams her car into somebody else's car.
That's
kind
true.
of a douche move.
Well, and she's trying to rip off her insurance as well.
In her country.
And she doesn't show up to work. Like every character in this movie sucks in some way.
and she makes Ted feel like a complete,
Yeah.
you know,
Right. She's
piece of
mean to
crap.
Ted. He's in
She's
love with
totally
her.
mean to
It's,
Ted.
it's,
Yeah.
it's a very pure relationship.
All right.
It's a
So
bad
I have
comparison.
I'll mention a couple here. For the one I wrote down was Chad. I mean, because I can't help but yeah.
Are you really talking about your feelings toward Brian, Terry, when you make that pick?
No comment. But I will also say honorable mention to Patrick Bowl, playing Sandy's man.
I don't know. I don't remember who that was. I saw that name.
So Sandy is George Clooney's wife. So this is
Oh,
the
that's right.
guy
And she's
on the
having
side.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
But I'm gonna go with a 20-way tie for douchebag with the 20 drunken Princetonians that Osborne Cox is singing their song with.
But not Osborne.
Well, I mean, he's
Osborne.
I wrote down
Osborne. I wrote down as a douchebag because he didn't get the cheeses. I mean, and that's just...
Well, that's because he quit before he could get the message.
That's a great call.
but okay, I actually have the movie on my iPad right now, and it's actually at the scene where Chad just got in the car and he squints. Osborne Cox.
Every time he looks at him, he's like, "Oh, I need to look serious again." That is Pitt doing his thing. That is how he got his BAFTA nomination for this movie. It was just like that scene is just like,
oh. which is why he is the most punchable face, because he actually gets punched in that scene, and it's well deserved. Yeah. Do you guys have anybody else for punchable face?
Well, I wrote Harry. I just think, I mean, there's something very punchable about a guy who just gets done having sex and it's just like, I need to get a run in. It's like, I don't know. Like, every time I'm just like, dude, you asshole.
Yeah.
If it was Sean William Scott, it'd be a douchey, but it's punchable because it's Clooney, because he doesn't belong in that role.
Oh, I like that.
Clooney doesn't really look like a runner. And they only show him really running in one scene. It doesn't, I guess that doesn't really fit. I don't know. I thought about it at one character who isn't a douchebag in a movie with every character as a douchebag, and that has to be Osborne Cox's father, right? And he would be replayed today by Anthony Hopkins from The Father, right?
But he worked in this. I mean, he kind of looks like Brian Cox. Can you see that? He kind of does. But he worked in the State Department back in like the Nixon administration, so he's obviously also a douchebag. He just can't talk anymore.
I have a question about Osborne Cox. I know this is going a little off script. Do we really think that Osborne Cox is an alcoholic? I mean, clearly he drinks excessively in this movie.
He just has a lot of whiskey, though, and they're all fifths.
But see, the thing is, and he's like measuring it, and then he pours a little bit back. Like I've been there before. Like the thing
that's because he's self-conscious about it at that point.
Right. Is the alcoholism brought on by him getting fired and having nothing to do with his time except for watch Family Feud? You know, like what? It's like a chicken or egg situation.
I was going to ask what the question was in that scene, but I couldn't actually figure it out.
Oh, no, that's a great conspiracy theory. He's trying to figure it out. That's one thing that does date this movie, though, is that Richard Karn is the host.
I was gonna ask that. I was gonna ask who was the host of Family Feud at the time. Yeah.
It was Al.
All right. Best scene of the movie is what, Zach?
I think it's any scene with Malkovich, But I think if
Yes.
you're going to go with a scene, it's the scene when oh gosh, I don't know, it's tough. The scene when Brad Pitt calls him up on the phone at night is a
Yeah.
great one. But I also have to say, what you are engaged in is a felony. Your
Yeah.
head will be spinning faster than the wheels on that Schwinn bicycle.
Looks can be deceptive.
Any
Like
scene
we're getting there with our
uh,
Malkovich impression. This is pretty good.
yeah,
You
getting
just
better.
have to. His cadence is so unbelievable. It's amazing.
My answer is any scene with Malkovich and Pitt in this movie. Which there
Exactly.
aren't
That's why I
enough of.
said the movie needed a main character. If Malkovich was the main
Ah.
character, observing all of the idiots around him, it would be even funnier.
So yeah, if I had to pick one scene, it was calling Osborne in the middle of the night. Osborne Cox. Yes, this is Osborne Cox.
Hello. I think someone has to pick the beginning scene though, because when he gets fired,
That's a great
didn't we
scene, too.
did
Yeah.
we bring that up on the all-time greatest firing scenes? That had to be on our list, right? Because that, or if it wasn't, that's a
okay,
good admission.
But see, I don't even know if it's the all-time greatest CIA operative getting fired,
Well,
because
right,
I think
'cause
that
it
goes
was
to Philip
Philip
Seymour
Seymour
Hoffman and
Hoffman.
Charlie Wilson's War. The other thing I wrote down was any scene with J.K. Simmons, because his two scenes are just freaking hilarious. of
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, yeah, him and Palmer are just their chemistry is so great. It's like, well, no, like the number two kind of thing. It's like we do have the issue of the woman. Oh yeah, God, where is she? Well,
you picked her up.
yeah,
She
we
wants us
have
to pay
her.
for some
Wait.
operations.
Like, wait, we have her. Like, what are we gonna like to do? What? like their back and forth is unbelievable. Both of those scenes. You guys, two of you mentioned all four scenes that I was going to talk about.
We caught him on the first plane going to Venezuela. Well, I don't know why. It's like because we don't have extradition with Venezuela. Oh, so what should we do with him? Put him on the first flight to Venezuela.
But there's also a world where J.K. Simmons could have played Osborne Cox too. I mean, let's think about Whiplash. J.K.
Well,
Simmons,
yeah.
like that could have been interesting too.
But
see,
but
I had
him
Simmons
in
written
that
down as my
role-
second most highest war because that role is because of his just like I don't know. Yeah, man, what did we even learn, Palmer? It's hard to say. Maybe we
don't
didn't
do it
learn
again.
anything.
Whatever
Yeah.
it is that we did.
if we even again, that is like at the time that like post Spider-Man, post Juno, J.K. Simmons, like pinpoint casting right there. Like
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, the Regal quote of the movie.
I wrote that's either that's the shit, man, or I have an lactose reflux because if you're at the concession line or something and you say I'm trying to buy popcorn or something, I have a lactose reflux.
I put, are you concerned with the security of your shit?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Except I think the Regal, they want it to be G-rated.
That's true.
Yeah, but if Danny Trejo says it,
but if Danny Trejo says it, or one of his kids say it too, like he's got the end, like the girl who says as if instead turns to him and says, "Are you concerned with the security of your shit?" And he picks up his cup and it's empty. Then he turns and said, "That's a line right before."
It's you, Fredo.
I knew it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart. Okay, but the "you are a dick" underrated line of the movie.
Well, I didn't say my Regal line.
Oh yeah. What's your
at first
Regal
I thought it was "This is a crucifixion," but I also like "I am simply a good Samaritan, sir."
Yeah, that scene, like my, that scene's so great. Just like,
all right, the underrated line of the movie, though, the "you are a dick" underrated line of the movie. I mean,
who's going first, Harry?
Zach can go first.
I'm back, you fuckers. I don't know. That also could have been the Regal line. There's no underrated line in this movie. It's all
Well,
great.
there are
Anything that
some.
Malkovich says. Okay.
So I had two. I had you think that's a Schwinn, but which could have been the Regal quote as well. I don't know where it fits in. But then the other one is the one I mentioned just a little bit ago. Looks can be deceptive.
That's just Pitt doing his thing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right, the two I wrote down was when he asked Tuckman Marsh, is that a law firm? He said no, it's a rock band. Yes, it's a law firm. And I also wrote down Clooney says at one point, he's like, yeah, we agreed to disagree. That's the only thing we agreed on. It's like, but the Coens have all those kind of lines in all their movies where it's just, I mean, passing lines that are overlapped with other lines. Like you get some real gems in there.
The Tugman Marsh guy would have been 90s Giamatti. Did we say that?
Oh, that's a good
perfect.
call. That's a good call. Wow, that's cool, man. Maybe that's the underrated quote of the movie. the other one, it just popped up on the screen is would you come down from there? Which apparently was the punchline of the scene, but I don't understand why.
Yeah, I mean, she thought it was really funny though, twice.
which leads me to my Nicole Kidman movie companion of the movie, which is Linda Litsky, because she's a great one to go to a movie with.
That's true. Not Alan.
See, my theater companion was Osborne's father because he doesn't talk.
Like Val Kilmer.
And because he's in a wheelchair, so you get priority seating if you're going with him. So hey, that's my guy right there.
Oh man, that's good. That is good. Zach, did you have one?
I can't top that. I can't imagine ever topping that.
Oh man, and the best ship with the best crew. All right. If there were a sequel, I want to see Harry in Venezuela. That's what I want to see. Finding dating apps in Venezuela.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I was thinking like you could have a TV show set in the gym, like Superstore style.
Oh, that's a good call.
Like I've seen one movie. It was like a movie with Guy Pearce. I think it was set in a gym called Results. But I've never seen a TV show set in that specific scenario, and it'd be fun because I mean that. I don't know. You get all kinds of weird shit that happens in gyms like that. So I think that'd be fun. Ooh, especially with those characters.
Douchebag we didn't mention. The guy serving papers.
Yeah.
Maybe even more so the guy that was the witness.
That might have been Olsen for all we know. Like, why is he here?
What is Olsen here for? Zach, what do you have for a sequel?
Maybe a movie about Linda Litsky on Tinder. I mean, that was a very primitive version of Tinder that she was using. Maybe a Aronofsky movie about Harry being an obsessive jogger, like wanting to jog every 2 days. I don't know. I just want to hang out. Like I said, I just want to hang out with these characters. I don't really have, and they don't need, there doesn't need to be a story.
Flaws, outdated conspiracy theories.
I wrote down every scene without Osborne is kind of boring. I'm like, which I mean, yeah, like the movie need a main character. That all stems back to that. And I also wrote down Harry gets home from running 5.2 miles and showers in less than 20 seconds and is totally refreshed afterwards. Because like Brad Pitt, Chad didn't even have a chance to open the doors before he was already done showering and he got out and he looked like he was totally fine and he just ran 5.2. He makes the point of it.
It's kind of sad that Harry and Chad don't get to know each other. They would probably make a great duo. That's probably the sequel, is in another universe where they got to know each other and exercise and hit on women together and be paranoid together. That's
rob a casino in Vegas together.
Is Chad straight though?
I think he is.
I don't think so.
I mean,
I never thought he was.
Possible. Really? I always assumed he. I get it's deliberately ambiguous, I guess. But
is the sequel to this movie Ocean's 11?
Well, see, I mean, that was interesting when Zach was saying Pitt had never done comedy before. I was like, I feel like Rusty is pure comedy.
Rusty, yeah, that's
I find it funny that I mean, I noticed it this time more than, and that's like a big time shocking moment when I remember when I first watched it. Like that was as shocking as Leo getting hit and departed when Brad Pitt gets shot in this.
Yeah.
And we see Clooney and Pitt, who at this point have done a trilogy of Ocean's movies together as best friends, spend like literally a half a second on screen together. And I think that's like one of the coolest parts of the whole movie.
Yeah, I was also going to say, if we had done this podcast 10 years ago, I think we would be talking about how crazy it was that Brad Pitt did this. And now all we can talk about is how great Malkovich was. I think Malkovich aged in this movie better than Brad Pitt did, I guess, in a weird way.
Because Pitt actually took more roles, like
Yeah,
the
like
supporting
this.
roles.
And I think we just missed John Malkovich. We need more Malkovich in our
Well, see,
lives.
I wrote a review about this back in 2008, and I mentioned how Malkovich was the best part of the movie and stuff. But I also did talk about Pitt quite a bit too. So,
Yeah, the two of them are definitely the stars of the movie. So I've got a few flaws I was thinking about with this, and a lot of them revolve around DC. After having been there and kind of understand how the city is like works and stuff. So like, okay, so it's actually the scene that's on the screen right now. So he gets driven out 5.2 miles from Georgetown to do his run, but then he runs along the tidal basin. Like that's not in the same direction from the other side of the Lincoln Memorial. And if he's gonna run the route that she just drove him, he'd be running on the sidewalk, not along the sidewalk next to the Japanese cherry blossoms along the tidal basin on his way to the Jefferson Memorial. Like that doesn't make any sense. Come on, you can do better
that
than
is
that.
brilliant, Terry.
By the way, I think the Russian embassy is the FBI headquarters in this, not the Russian embassy. The Russian embassy, like Embassy Row, is in a completely different part of town, and that size of a building is not an embassy building in DC. I'm sorry.
It looks like
So,
most of this movie was shot in New York.
except for the couple scenes that have DC
It doesn't really
on it.
look like Washington, D.C.
Well, no, there are like those moments though, like he's running along the tidal basin. I'm watching him right now. Like that can't really be faked. But
Well, there are like 15 locations
houses
listed on
don't,
IMDb, and only one of them says Washington D.C. Everything else says New York or New Jersey. So I don't know. I mean, there are the places they like. The houses do look like New York more, but I don't know. I've never been there, but I'm just from.
yeah, it could be Georgetown. It could be Georgetown. But I could see them faking it too. Oh, see now I'm seeing him run up a hill. There's no hills in DC like that. Yeah, that's not DC. No, no.
So Terry found that it's not shot in Washington D.C. From personal
Parts of it
experience.
are. There are parts of it that are.
That's the deepest you've ever gone into flaws. Terry. I want to congratulate you.
LVP, MVP. Then we're getting out of here. Zach, who's your LVP?
My LVP is Manolo, because I feel like he really played an instrumental role in all of this, but he gets shafted. He only gets one line in the movie. And I guess it's a borderline conspiracy theory, but like, couldn't the movie just have been about Manolo? Like, why did it have to involve these other people so much? He was the one that found the shit. He was just doing his job, I guess. So really, maybe he should be the MVP. I guess I'm
He
not
should have
really
fought
sure.
for the security of the shit.
Yeah.
In 2008, that would have been the Paul Walter Hauser part.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. And then my MVP of the movie is The Russians. I think that aged well. It's like watching this movie again, everyone's like, the Russians? Why would they take it to the Russians? And it's like now in 2023, yeah, it kind of makes sense that,
that totally
they
makes
would
sense.
want secret shit from the United States. Yeah.
And secondary option, the Chinese. So
that's true.
Yeah. All right. So my LVP, I have Harry down for LVP because okay, he's never fired his weapon before in the field. Yet he leaves his holster in the closet and the gun in the bedside table loaded. I mean, that's what led to this whole thing. And the second he gets spooked, he shoots him in the face. And the funny thing is in this whole thing, he thinks that that he's one of the private eyes. Like he thinks Chad is a part of the law firm. That's why he gets rid of him the way he does. It's weird. Anyways, I had him down.
Yep.
I also had Ted down because yeah,
He
it's
gave
Ted.
up a job in Chevy Chase, man.
Yeah.
Who would do that?
And he actually Linda Litsky is out of her mind, and he actually listened to her because he was that willing to impress her. I guess he didn't have too many options. My MVP, I also have Ted down because I think that's underrated, one of the cooler characters in the whole thing. But I also have DC down because I forgot how much of a DC movie this is, and there's some cool, it's obviously they're right next to the Lincoln Memorial. He's running twice by the Lincoln Memorial. And then her ideal spot to meet people is like walking away from the World War II memorial under the Washington Monument. And I don't know. I know too much about DC at this point, so I had to shout it out that there were some cool spots. However, that totally is the FBI building. It's not the Russian embassy that they pull up to. I'll hold to that.
Yeah. LVP, I have floppy disks and CDs because even the Russians have to ask, like, okay, so is this a PC or a Mac? I mean, I forgot about those issues like that. That seems like forever ago. And my MVP is Brad Pitt because I remember when this movie came out, it was Brad Pitt that was what sold me on wanting to see it most, because it was just like, that is not what he does, but he looked hilarious, and everything he does in the movie was just as good as I could have imagined. And it was a year of Brad Pitt too. He finally got his second Oscar nomination, but this is just classic, great supporting character actor in a leading man's body kind of role.
Did you say he got a BAFTA nomination for this?
He did, and so did Tilda Swinton.
Oh man,
Yes.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
And got 3 BAFTA nominations.
Got some Golden Globes nominations too. This is a Golden Globes movie, though.
Oh, totally is.
BAFTA nominated for original screenplay, supporting actor, supporting actress. Yeah.
There's no question that if this movie was made today, it would be streaming, right? This would not be in theaters.
Oh yeah, this is a Netflix movie.
Oh yeah, okay, especially after Best of Scruggs. McDormand was nominated for a Best Actress at the Golden Globes. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, it was an awards movie, sort of, but
Best Actress, really?
Best Actress in a Comedy Musical and Best Comedy Musical Motion Picture. But that was back when they actually did nominate comedies.
This feels like a category filler too. All right. Well, with that, we're going to draw this podcast to a close. Thank you guys so much for listening. Again, we're taking next week off for the Super Bowl. We'll be back in 2 weeks with our special 2022 awards episode, where I think we're going to be streaming live on YouTube for that one. So be sure to check that out. We'll reveal our nominations and debate all these crazy categories of who wins for the year. Make sure you tune in for that. Until then, have fun watching movies, and we'll catch you on the flip side.